Ethan Parker wasn't afraid of the dark. He'd spent most of his 35 years inside the cab of a truck, crossing lonely highways most people avoided. The road was where he belonged. Humming engine, flickering dash light, silence stretching for miles. Out there, time didn't matter, people didn't matter, just miles and asphalt. That night, he was hauling freight from Mobile, Alabama toward the Florida coast, a route he'd never taken before. The locals at the gas station had warned him not to take the old coastal highway after midnight, said it had a way of losing people. Ethan only smiled, thinking they were superstitious. For the first few hours, it was an easy drive. The road twisted through woods thick enough to block out the stars. The moon glowed weakly through drifting clouds. The smell of salt hung in the air, faint but sharp. The ocean couldn't be far. Then, sometime after midnight, something changed. The air grew colder, not gradually, but all at once, like the warmth had been sucked out of the world. Fog began to seep across the road, slow and deliberate, curling up from the ground like smoke from something burning underground. At first, Ethan thought it was just weather, but it didn't behave like fog. It rolled and pulsed, almost as if it were breathing. Within minutes, it swallowed everything. The world outside his headlights vanished. The yellow lines faded, then disappeared. The road beneath him felt wrong, like he wasn't driving on asphalt anymore, but on something softer, shifting faintly under the tires. He slowed down. The silence was suffocating. No crickets, no wind, not even the low growl of the engine seemed real anymore. Then he saw it. A small shape on the side of the road. Still. Too still. As the fog parted, it revealed a girl, barefoot. Her clothes were torn, hanging off her like damp paper. Her head tilted downward, her hair covering her face. Ethan's pulse jumped. He rolled down his window, leaning toward the glass, but before he could even say a word, the girl's head snapped upward. Her face was gray. Her eyes were holes, not empty, but deep, like looking down into a well. And then she was gone. No sound, no movement, just gone. The fog closed around him again. Ethan hit the brakes, heart hammering. The truck's headlights flickered, dimmed, then steadied. For a long moment, he just sat there, breathing hard. He told himself he was tired. He'd imagined it. But the road ahead didn't look familiar anymore. He started driving again, slow, cautious, but within minutes, he realized something was wrong. He'd already seen that stretch of road. The same bend, the same slope, the same jagged boulder leaning out from the right-hand side. He glanced at the GPS, frozen. Same location, same coordinates. The digital clock on the dashboard wasn't moving either. He tapped the screen. Nothing. The silence pressed harder against his chest. He kept driving. He didn't know how long, minutes, hours, maybe days. Every turn brought him back to the same cursed curve. And then she was there again. The girl. Same place, same torn dress. This time, she was smiling. It wasn't a human smile. It was too wide, too deliberate. Her head tilted, her eyes reflecting the headlights like glass. Ethan's hands trembled. He slammed on the gas. The truck roared forward, but over the engine, he heard something. Footsteps. Soft, wet, running beside the truck, keeping pace no matter how fast he drove. He didn't look. He couldn't. When he finally slowed, another figure appeared ahead. A man this time, walking down the shoulder of the road. Thin, white robe fluttering in the fog. Ethan almost cried from relief. A living person, someone real. But as the headlights caught the man's face, that relief turned to ice. The man's eyes were gone, black sockets leaking dark streaks down his cheeks. His mouth stretched open, too far, revealing a grin that split his face in two. Ethan screamed and hit the accelerator again. The fog thickened. The road kept looping. The sky never changed. He began to notice shapes in the fog, faces pressed against the glass of his cab, fading whenever he looked. He could hear whispers through the static of the radio, voices calling his name in tones that weren't quite human. He drove until his gas was almost gone. His mind felt broken, fractured, like the fog had seeped inside him. And then, one last time, she appeared, in the center of the road, closer than before. Her head tilted, eyes hollow, smile stretched wide enough to tear skin. Ethan's scream echoed through the cab as he jerked the wheel. Metal crunched, glass shattered. The world went black. At dawn, a passing driver spotted the wreck, the semi crushed against a rock wall, headlights still burning through the fog. Ethan was barely alive. When he woke in the hospital 2 days later, his hair had turned almost white. His hands shook uncontrollably. He tried to explain the fog, the loop, the faces, but the doctors told him it was shock, hallucination, oxygen loss. He never believed that. He stopped driving, barely slept. Neighbors said they'd hear him screaming at night, swearing the sound of footsteps ran past his window, whispering from the fog outside. Less than a year later, Ethan Parker was found dead in his bed. Heart failure, they said. But the paramedics who arrived first swore the air in his apartment was freezing and that the smell of salt hung faintly in the room. Some said the Road Wraith had followed him home. Others said he'd never really escaped it at all. So if you ever find yourself driving a fog-covered highway after midnight and the world feels wrong, like it's folding in on itself, don't stop, don't slow down, and don't look into the fog. Because once the Road Wraith sees you, you don't drive through the road anymore. You drive inside it.